people may have heard this. Some people haven't. Your dad really wanted you to go to Kentucky, and you were really thinking about Tennessee, obviously, until the end. But your dad was not having it, right?
Yeah, he wasn't having it. Yeah, I had committed to Tennessee actually, and just verbally committed. And funny story. Coach Fulmer and Coach Cutcliffe were in my living room, and we're going over everything, and they're telling me, because Peyton was already there, and they're telling me like how this is going to be. You'll come in and red shirt, and then this, that, and the other. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sounds great. I'm going to go to Tennessee. It's where I wanted to play. And then in the middle of the conversation, my dad gets up and leaves the room. And he goes outside. I hear him start his old red truck up, and he takes off. And Fulmer and Cutcliffe are they're in shock. They're like, this has never happened before. Recruits, parents just get up and leave in the middle of the conversation. They're like, should we wait on him? I'm like, he ain't coming back. So he comes awesome. Back, and we had a falling out, and I actually moved out of my house and went down the street and stayed with my friend for like 3 days. And finally, after like 3 days, I came to him. I said, if it means this much for me to go to Kentucky, I'll just go to Kentucky. I said, but if it doesn't work out, I'm leaving. And I said, I'll give it 1 year. And it was the worst year of my life. Coach Curry was there, and he got fired halfway through the season. And then, somehow that worked out where they brought in Mummy and Leach, and I ended up staying. But yeah.
Well, I don't think I heard that. You moved out of your house because of it.
Yeah, we got a pretty big fight over it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Did you know that story, Ryan?
No, I had never heard that before.
Yeah, and I just didn't understand why he wanted me to go to Kentucky at that time. Kentucky football, I think they won one game that year. The year I was a senior in high school, I think they won one game, and I was,
Tennessee was great.
Tennessee was great, yeah. And I had offers from everywhere in the country. I was number one recruit in the country, and I was like, why does he want me to go to Kentucky so bad? It was a basketball. All they were doing. Football back then was not good. And but he was a huge Kentucky fan and wanted me to go there, and luckily it worked out the way it did. But I don't know how it did.
Wow, that is an amazing story. I knew that your dad really wanted you to go, but I did not know you moved out of the house.
Yeah, my friend, that house I moved. Remember when I was my last year in Kentucky when the car accident happened, and my best friend got killed. That's whose house I moved.
Chris Brock,
Scott Brock, yeah.
Scott Brock.
Yeah,
that's whose house you went down and stayed in.
Yeah, I stayed in his house. He was my best friend. Lived right down the street. So
how tough was that when that car accident?
Oh man, that was the toughest thing I'd ever been through, and the toughest thing I've ever done was because we were like brothers, Scott and I were, and I stayed at his house every night, or he was at my house. It's just one of those deals where I would go to his house and wouldn't even knock on the door. I just walk right in like I was part of the family. We were that close. And when the accident happened, the next morning I woke up and I just drove straight down to his house. And I remember driving across his bridge, and his mom saw my car pulling in, and I could hear her screaming from inside the house. The hardest thing, and that conversation when I went in there was the hardest conversation. I was, 20 years old at the time. I mean, that was absolutely brutal. The whole funeral situation, everything. That was a rough time for sure. Yeah. And then we had to play Tennessee that weekend, which on the road, which was impossible.
So that happened the weekend before, right?
Yeah, so we played Vanderbilt at home that night, and then the accident happened after the game at like 2:00 in the morning, and then we had to go on the road and play Tennessee the next weekend. And we had 2 funerals that week and everything, so it was just
I felt
brutal.
so sorry for you because all the cameras, everybody's got a microphone in your face because they know you. They wanted you to talk about you. That's the last thing you want to talk about.
Right, yeah. I mean, it was tough, and I just because not only my center Jason Watts he's the one that lived out of the deal, and then my other teammate Artie Steinmetz, the defensive end, was killed in the accident as well. So we had to go to two. Whole team went to both funerals of Scott and Artie. So and then we're all worried about Jason as well. He wasn't doing well. He was in the hospital and kind of hanging on there. So it was a tough week for us.
Had to be tough for him.
It was really tough for him. Yep, very very tough.
People often don't think about the survivor in that.
He went through a lot. Yeah, he really did.
I bet he did.
Yep,
yeah,
he did.
Well, that's a lot. Well, listen, that's powerful stuff. We'll take a break. Be right back. It's KSR.